B2B buyers are leaving clues on the web that they are in market. Can you find them? This is Hellbent on Intent, where we sit down with experts, users, and skeptics to get to the bottom of intent data. Our goal is to break down what intent data is, what it isn't, how it works, and what it means for B2B technology marketers. My name is Tukan. Let's get to it. Hello, everyone. My guest today is Dee Acosta from Metadata. So before we get started, Dee, one thing that'll be great is if you can give a quick background about yourself and your relationship with intent data.
Yeah, so I've been selling to marketers for over 15 years. And I started off at Forrester around the time of the Great Recession. And then I moved to Aberdeen. I was there for the better part of 11 years, which was a great experience. Got to meet a lot of different business leaders. Part of the reason how I know so many people in business. Part of Aberdeen's business was intent data. So there's intent data from the leads that we collected, but they also made an acquisition of a company called Big Willow that turned bidstream data, into intent. So I got very familiar with that, the different types of intent, what intent means for an organization, some of the challenges there. Really a crash course. I was all into it. My biggest deal while working there ever in that 11 years was an intent deal. So exciting stuff. But intent is powerful. There's a lot of misnomers about it. You all know. And there's a lot of best practices on how to use it, which I think can help a lot of marketers. Because people like to think we're so data driven and, all the B2B journey is like shopping for, new shoes, but in reality, it's much more nuanced. And the better data you have, the better intent data, the more you can anticipate those nuances.
Totally. Yeah. And thank you for that. And we are going to unpack a lot of those things. So I guess first question now, given that, you have been working at a company that sells intent data, meaning Aberdeen with the big acquisition, and now at Metadata, where you guys sort of include other partners' intent data, like Bora's or LeadSift for that matter, for your clients. So you've seen it from multiple lenses, both sides of the table, I should say. I guess the first question that I have for you, Dean, in your view, what makes a good intent data vendor? Like, what should you look for? What makes it a good intent?
Yeah. There's a lot that goes into that. The first is what I like to call the chef analogy. So, what makes a good meal is ingredients and a good preparation, right? Good cooking. You really have to have a thorough understanding of the data sources, what that means, the value of those data sources, what impacts those data sources that could give false positives, et cetera, and just how deep those data sources are. So in other words, what's that interaction there? And I think a lot of organizations, a lot of buyers, they fall into, the idea of someone's looking for a commodity, right? They need new servers or new phones, and that's a huge signal. Whereas in SaaS, at least, it's always a solution that doesn't necessarily exist. And even if, with a solution, what does that signal mean? Someone saw a web page. What does that mean?
Yeah.
Conversely is the analytics and data science that are applied to it. So understanding what their models look like, why their models look good, what they do to weed out false positives, fraud, determine true intent is really, really important to understand. And that's complex.
Yes, I was going to ask that. Like, as a marketer, how would you, let's say, I'm a B2B marketer at a B2B SaaS company, and I want to know more. Should I use vendor A versus vendor B for intent data? What are some clear, obvious things to look for to evaluate?
Yeah, so there's a lot. The first sign that is a red flag is, do they capture intent from Canada, where you all are at? And then to add to that, Europe, so GDPR. Because those are signs that the way they collect intent is not going to be compliant in the future, and the way that they collect intent is very cookie dependent, very kind of behind the scenes tracking dependent. That delivers a lot of false positives. So I'm not trying to sell for you all, but what I like about you all, and when I because we're partners, what I brag to my clients is you all are based out of Canada. So what was the quote from Batman? You were born in the darkness.
Yes.
Born under those regulations.
We are born in maple syrup, and we got out of that.
Maple syrup and snowy plains, and
Yes.
That is definitely a distinctive advantage.
Yeah.
Companies will tell you we get intent from Europe, but it's usually, if you look at the volume, it is so low.
Yeah.
And it's from the same sources.
So I guess one of them, as you mentioned, is a clear red flag is if they don't have data in Europe or Canada, there's some kind of a compliance gray area going on. What other things should they look for when they're?
Yeah. So that's another great question. So normalization is a big challenge, because
What do you mean by normalization here?
So think about, we'll just use company size. So Walmart, huge company. They've got a huge IT department, et cetera. Let's say analytics is the topic. They're always going to be searching. There's always going to be intent for analytics, because they're going to be however you collect it, right? They're always going to be looking for analytics content, and that interaction will be the ingredient for the intent. If the intent is always saying, hey, Walmart has the most intent, that's not helpful. So if week after week, month after month, it's showing the same top organizations having intent, not helpful. And that can also apply to other areas. So analytics is being searched a lot. Security, like if some terms are just searched way more, some broad terms are searched way more, then maybe there's a lot of volume on certain terms, and there's always a lot of volume on certain terms. That's another sign. So a good example would be ransomware. So ransomware, there's always going to be a fair amount of volume, but if it didn't go up with the pipeline colonial attack and the colonial pipeline attack and the Atlanta airport attack, that's a sign that, hey, this is not being normalized. We're not seeing insights from this. We're just seeing kind of raw data.
Frequency counter, that kind of a deal, right?
Yeah. Frequency instead of percentage. Yeah.
Yeah. Understand. Perfect.
I have one more though.
Yeah. Okay.
So you need a partner. That's why I love you guys. You need a partner who can walk you through this, that can do, I don't want to call it custom, but that can help you find insights. Because if you're just buying raw data, if you're serious about intent and you're just buying raw data, there's going to be challenges with that data at certain times, and you're going to have to find the signal through the noise. So having someone that you can go to and say, hey, I'm trying to find this. Do you have any ideas? Can you help? That's really important, in my opinion.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. So those are three solid points on sort of evaluating a good intent vendor. So now let's come to the second thing of this discussion. Is one of the biggest use cases of intent is around targeted digital advertisement. Whether it's paid search, paid social, display, or all those things. And you guys being Metadata, you guys focus on helping clients run more effective paid media campaigns by automating, trying hundreds and thousands of A/B tests, and also the targeting piece. So I want to dig a little bit deeper on that and how you see intent playing a role with this big use case of targeted advertisement. So the first question that I have around this, Dee, is for you is I'd love to understand how. Okay, actually, let's back up. What percentage of roughly would you say metadata users use intent for targeting? Roughly, if you had to say.
So I would say 100%, because we're partners. Even before we were partners, there's other intent providers. G2 is fantastic. They're the platform, and I would say 2/3 of our clients use intent. There's definite benefits there. So there was a survey, I'm picking on G2, and they showed that lead costs went down 42%, while Sales cycles close faster and deal sizes increase. So there's definitely a benefit to intent. And the problem that I see with intent is that you're talking the signal through the noise, right? There's so much noise, and
Yep.
organizations will say, okay, here are location-based intent contacts, right? Because, Bob Smith at GE works at the Sacramento headquarters, whatever, and 10,000 people there, and he was looking at click on analytics. He was looking at analytics, and he's manager of analytics, and giving that information to sales. And I've sold that. I sold that while I was at Aberdeen. I sold that. We were Balboa resellers for a while. And we sold that, and that's not actionable, right? Because
why do you say that's not actionable? I'm giving a name of a person and a location. Why would you say that's not actionable?
So it's not actionable from a sales standpoint. So why? No idea of engagement there. There could be 100 people in analytics from a sales standpoint. So that's where I see marketers struggle. Now, where is intent really, really, really powerful? Well, it's activating it through marketing. So there's lots of ways to do that. But at Metadata, how we do that is we allow you to dynamically target your buyer. So the right individual, one-to-one marketing. So the individual across search, social, display. So if you pick on analytics again, you said analytics companies in the Fortune 1000. With your intent, we have an idea of which of these organizations has intent, and then we can get granular and say, okay, we know that Bob Smith at GE is responsible for this. His title is this, and then we place the ad in front of him against where he's going. So if he's on LinkedIn a lot, if he's on Facebook a lot, if he's on search, we do one-to-one display. We're adding YouTube. The other thing is we do multivariate experimentation. So non-performance marketers understand difference, the value here. It's not A/B testing. It's testing against hundreds of different permutations. So what have I seen? I used to sell programmatic advertising. We used intent. We did everything. Promoted a security company with a red brand.
Okay.
One variable, a blue ad with that company, instead of their red brand, performed 35% better. That's just one variable. So with our experiments, it's common to see the least performing experiment generate, in this case, we're just talking leads, single digit leads, where the best performing generates hundreds of leads. And that can be so many things, not just the offer, not just the text, but the color, gender plays a big role, what they're doing. And that's huge. And that's what I see as one of the best ways to activate. Now, there's other ways to activate it too. Email, right? I'm trying to think of, automated outreach through Gong, and through
sales after outreach. Yeah.
Yeah. But, just telling every sales rep in the morning, these people have intent based on location data is very challenging for that sales team. And I can even go on. Think about sales, right? Average account list is 200. They're looking at those accounts every day. What are they going to tell them? They have to create that intent.
So let me ask you this question, Dee, and you raise an interesting point about the actionability of intent or the impact intent can have. So let's say you get this intent data from whether it's G2, LeadSift, Bombora, or whatever source. You get a list of companies, certain people within this company showing intent. What you are saying is these are not going to be super useful to your organization if you just hand them to your sales guys and go follow up. So what you're saying is there needs to be some kind of nurturing, whether it's marketing does email nurturing or through ads. There needs to be some nurturing for them to bring them down the funnel to give it to sales at that point.
Absolutely.
And if they do that, what you are saying is the stat that you referred to was 42% cheaper in the cost per lead, and then the velocity of once they become a lead to them become an opportunity or deals close is much faster because these guys are in the buying mode.
Yeah, and deal size too.
Why would you say deal size? Like, how does deal size impact? Like,
true. I'm gonna get a little salesy here. I know.
Yeah, go for it. No, go for it.
a client, if you're a good salesperson, I
Mm-hmm.
like to think I am. If you have a client that has a need,
Yeah.
and you identify that need,
Yeah.
you can get nerdy off that need, and there's just alignment and virtual professional hugging over that need and answering that problem.
Yeah.
So I think that it might be that, hey, there's intent. They have a problem, right, related to that intent, and that salesperson is going to a situation where they're going to fix that problem, and
Yeah.
there's high um, there's high compatibility. So I'll give you an example. I have a client. It's not based on intent, but I know I identified their problem quickly, and I did it through finding them on LinkedIn and seeing that, and we're best friends now. So they had a need that we're going to solve, and that's huge for that organization. So I think with intent, it can do the same.
Okay.
And then intent gives you an idea, right? Solutions they solve multiple problems. You can speak. You have a hint that you need to speak to that problem going in there.
Let me ask you two questions following up to that. You guys do a lot of multivariate testing, right? Like multiple hundreds of different colors and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see intent data currently? The way you're using intent data is more around the targeting piece. Who should see that targeted ad? Do you see intent data playing a role in changing the copy of it or what kind of asset it's shown? So, for example, if you know this, Jim Smith is showing intent around a competitive intent keyword versus like an industry research, would the ad change or should the ads change? So that's my question.
I love that. We attempted to do that at Aberdeen.
Okay.
The problem, not the problem, the challenge is that it takes technology, takes development, takes trial and error, because it's going to be wrong for a while.
Yeah.
To automate it.
Yeah.
You can do it manually,
Okay.
but that's the dream, right? To use intent to start those experiments. Right now it takes us about 48 hours. Use that intent to shrink it down to 4 hours, right? Or volume wise, instead of 80 experiments, it takes 8. That would be the dream. And that's why I was mentioning a partner earlier, because to have a partner that can say, okay, we need to look through this, we're working on our messaging, let's make sure it makes sense. And to look at that intent and say, okay, our ICP, they're really worried about XYZ, is a huge deal. And then I'm always curious about kind of the Heisenberg intent, the Heisenberg factor, right? So you get the intent, you market to it. Is their intent going to change because you started marketing to them? So that's something else that we'll see. But yeah, you hit the nail on the head. That's the holy grail.
Yeah. That's crazy. So now couple quick questions. You mentioned that, if someone is using metadata, and this is not trying to be a pitch for metadata, I'm just curious here. If someone is using intent, you said they can leverage intent data to target people on paid social, whether it's LinkedIn or Facebook, using, I'm guessing what it's called, like target audience or custom audience. And you can do the same thing on search and YouTube. Is that accurate?
YouTube is coming, which I'm very excited about. I personally watch YouTube, but right now, it's LinkedIn, Facebook, Google search. We also support Quora.
Okay.
What's exciting is one-to-one display will be coming before the summer, we'll say. So you'll be able to target individuals on display. Now that's not going to be, it's all dependent on match rates. Our match rates on LinkedIn are 90%, or around 90%. On Facebook, they're around 40%. So you can expect the match rates to be lower on some of these other channels.
Like display, meaning Google and stuff like that?
No, display meaning like banner ads and
Got it.
Yeah.
But do you see like not a word, like really realistically speaking, by end of the year, if someone is thinking of activating intent data, they can literally have a list of companies, relevant people, and they can target them on search, social, Quora, even YouTube, that audience, with a targeted message.
And what's key to it is one-to-one. So it's not uploading a list of accounts and then saying we want every CISO, every security person there. It's creating a list of contacts using that intent.
Yeah.
Making sure that they're the right buyers, title-wise, they have the right demographics, the right types of companies, getting a preview of that list to ensure that. So actually seeing that list and
List of contacts that the ad will be shown to.
and making sure, hey, this is who we want. And then that in turn removes all bycatch. So you're saving costs there, which is huge because every click is wasted money. And then conversely increases your MQLs because you're getting in front of that right buyer at the right organization with the right title, doing one-to-one marketing with him, and they have intent in this case. And that's really, really valuable.
Yeah.
And that allows you, there's so much to it. That allows you to, pipeline building, but also awareness. It allows you to test messaging.
Yep.
And that's just really, really powerful.
Yeah,
So we're
agreed.
excited about that. That's part of the reason I love having you all as a partner.
Feelings mutual. So now let me ask you a final question here. We talked about intent. In theory, it makes sense. And in the promise of it totally makes sense, the thesis and everything. And the results are there to back up, as you mentioned, as we both know. What are some use cases where if someone comes to you and say, hey, I want to use intent to do better targeting and customer acquisition, what are some cases that you're like, nah, this is not going to work for you?
Well, so intent's very applicable, but there are some cases. So category creators, right? They're doing something that no one's ever heard of. They didn't know was possible. Think about some of the new technologies out there like data mesh, or think about, we'll pick on outreach. When outreach started, nobody knew
sales engagement, right?
Yeah, sales engagement, or like sales automation. Nobody was looking for that. So that's a time where just pumping in intent probably won't have the benefits that you're looking for, but there's still value there. There's still value in getting that, understanding that signal through the noise. Like are individuals who are looking for sales training, maybe, right? Or individuals who are hiring SDRs, maybe that's in the intent. Are they good targets? And that's where you need that partner that can help you sift through the data and find those values. So it's a sophisticated conversation, not a silver bullet mostly. It's not, someone's not looking for phones. They're looking for a new server because they have a new building. They're, especially in SaaS, it's about solutions.
Totally. Yeah, that makes sense. And I like the fact that you're saying, it has to sift through data to find these signals. So that's nice.
You get it.
Cool, man. This is great. So let me ask you one final question based on what you have seen. As I said, as someone who's sold intent data now, who's selling an advanced marketing technology that leverages intent, would you say you're hell-bent on intent for your customers?
Yeah, of course, I'm hell-bent on intent.
Awesome. Cool. If you like this video, please drop us a like. Let us know what you think of it. And if you're hell-bent on intent, click on the link in description to stay updated when each new episode drops. See you there.